Hey, welcome to the Gov Brief, and we are here to talk about compliance for BAA requirements and LED lighting. And with us today, we have, and this guy that's all tan in the T-shirt is the one in the tie, besides me, and that's Adam Harmon. He's the CEO of Access. Say, hey, Adam.
Hey guys, how we doing?
And we have Ed Birch. Also, he's located in right here, just outside of DC in Rockville. Say, hey, Ed.
Hello, people.
Hello, people. Hey, I'm Dave Lowe. I will be the host today for Gov Brief. And with us, we have a bunch of folks coming in from different agencies, and we appreciate that you're here. If we missed your agency, we didn't do it on purpose, but we make sure that we try to give a shout out to all the folks that are joining us today and learning some more about what's happening. And with that, I'm going to talk about a disclaimer for just a minute, because this isn't affiliated with any agency and is provided to you for informational purposes only. And it doesn't say that you have to buy from anybody or a commitment to purchase from any vendor. And there you have. That way we can talk and have a good dialogue back and forth. And with that in mind, if you'd like to ask us questions, you can open up the panel on the right-hand side, and you can ask questions by putting it in that box and hitting send, and we'll do our best to keep up with that throughout the presentation. And you can raise your hand and let us know that you have something to say. Or if you called in on the phone, make sure you enter your audio pin so we can unmute you and make sure that we can have that conversation. And throughout this whole process, you can access us via email for govsupport@alg-usa.com, and that'll be right there in front of you the whole time. And finally, if you would like to make us bigger, if you like the way that Adam looks today, you can make him expand or make us all disappear if you want to by dragging that and being able to follow along on the presentation as well. So as far as the agenda today, the initiatives and regulations that are coming down with multiple things. First of all, the Buy American Act, but we also have some other regulations that are still in play for all of the executive orders that have been passed over the past couple of decades, actually, and incorporating the ROI. Sorry about that. ROI is a new thing, a new term for a lot of folks in the federal government. We want to make sure you understand what that looks like, and doing your best to be able to meet the efficiency requirements by using retrofit LEDs and fixtures that you can put into the facilities that actually will save money in the course of time and give you better options for maintenance. Questions and answers, we'll get to those, and protecting your agency is another part of it. So why are you guys here today? Let us know why you're here. And that way we'll be able to make sure we stay on track with what you need and what you would like to know. So you want to learn more about the Buy American Act, the new administration initiatives for requiring BAA compliance. How about that? Or maybe you're just interested in learning more about LED technology. You might have something on your desk today. Maybe you have an upcoming requirement, or your boss made you come. So those are different things that you can check, and you can check as many as you need to know about, and we will make sure we get the information to you that you need. And with that, I'm going to close that in 5, 4, 3, 2, and there you go. So 100% are here to learn more about the Buy American Act. Great, because there's a lot of things that are coming down on everyone with that. And 50% are here in learning more about LED technology. So thank you very much for providing that information. So Adam and Ed, tell us a little bit about how. First of all, Adam, how did you get this going? This is your baby. Access LED is yours. You're based in Ohio. So whereabouts in Ohio are you?
We're based right outside of Columbus, Ohio, a little place called Dublin.
Yep.
Ohio, right close to Field Village. If you guys feel any golfers out there.
Very good.
So yeah, we started the company about 6 years ago. Basically, we were a turnkey operation. Got into the manufacturing a few years ago with partnered with an overseas manufacturer. And about 2.5 years ago, Ed and I were approached by Unicor, which is a division of the Department of Justice, to bring material over here and it's called repatriatize. Basically, you guys, if you know Unicor, they do a lot of different things, whether it's not just license plates like I always thought it was. They actually we bring in materials, they assemble them there, and that qualifies for Buy American Act LED lighting, which can qualify for all federal government projects, buildings, and so forth.
Awesome. And where you have warehouses all over the place, And we'll be talking more about the 5 and 10-year warranty that you provide and the importance of that. But also the biggest thing is assembled and manufactured in the United States, for Arizona for your fixtures and Illinois for your tubes. And that makes you BAA and TAA compliant by default as part of the process. So those are the types of things that are important to folks in the federal agencies for sure, because of some of the initiatives that are coming down on everyone here. So the Buy American Act actually started in 1933. We'll be talking about that some, and the importance of being able to have it manufactured, and also the Employ American Act is coming along as well. Those are the types of things that are going to be coming down the pipe. Efficiency mandates, nothing new there. There's a lot of re-emphasis on efficiency now with executive orders, and there are more to come. We've been talking with the White House about that. And the aggressive use of ROI, or return on investment, in the language of contracts. And this goes to, and Ed, you're an expert in this, the Energy Savings Performance Contract, ESPCs, and we'll be talking about those as well. But let's talk about the Buy American Act real quick. It is, believe it or not, it goes back to 1933, and it's a direction to produce and utilize in the federal government products that are produced in the United States. This is reinforced, as you well know by now, in January 24th, right as the new administration came on board, talking about the construction of American pipelines. It gives a 25% price protection over TAA compliant products for purchase within the United States. Now, there's also the executive order for March 13th, which talks about efficiency, blah, blah. I can't get that out. And effectiveness and accountability of federal agencies. This is also going to apply to that, as well as the other executive orders for planning for sustainability in the next decade, and the Energy Independence Act in 2007, 2005, and 1992, when you start talking about energy policy. All of these can be piled up on and made and reach those goals using BAA compliant LED lighting. And that's why we're here. So real quick, have you ever used ROI, or return on investment, in language in a contract? Have you ever done that before? Let us know if you have, because this is kind of new terminology. All the acronyms out there that happen in Washington, D.C. that we see every day and that you are involved in every day. Let us know if there's any of that incorporated ROI. So there you go. And we'll give you another 5. 4. This is an easy one. It's a yes or no. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll close the poll. And 100%, again, this happened earlier today with the folks on the East Coast. We have some folks from the West Coast here now. So there you go. 100% have never included that in their language of the contract. So we will talk about that right now. And let's talk about the energy saving performance contracts and what these things are and how they get administered.
Sure. So I'm sure a lot of you may or may not have heard about this, but basically the ESCOs that are out there, I think there's 21 now that are allowed to do the ESPC contracts, but I think there's 13 major ones. And what it is it's a way for you to do upgrades to the buildings and facilities without having a budget. So the contract is a guaranteed savings contract. So they guarantee the energy savings of the, the energy efficiency measures that they put into the building or facility. And those savings offset the cost of the contract. So you can get the lights, upgrade the lights. The payment for the ESPC contract is going to be less than your monthly utility savings, so that you're able to have a net positive cash flow without having the budget needed up front to pay for the project. And it was really implemented, to help with budgets with the government.
Mm. And this applies to tubes. So let's talk about this. 24 to 36 month ROI. Are you saying that you can actually pay for the tubes entirely with that savings then, within that amount of time?
Yeah, well, typically ESPC, because they're out for profit. They're for-profit companies, so they're not going to give you the entire amount. There's obviously finance charges in that, but to retrofit a tube, literally, There's if they're doing what's called a plug and play, you leave the ballast in place, you pull out the fluorescent tube, you put in an LED tube, it works instantly. You don't need an electrician to come in there, rewire anything. You don't have to pull anything out of the ceiling. So it's a very cost-effective way to upgrade to LEDs. And the ROI on that typically is 24 to 36 months. So that means that the savings would pay for those products within that time frame. And
you mentioned that if you don't have that, the plug and play is one way to do it. The other way is to replace the fixtures entirely, right? So that, excuse me, could be that's also incorporated into that ROI figure too, right? Yeah, you can do that as well.
That's correct. A lot of times they do use fixtures when they do the ESPC contracts because it gives an entirely new look to the facility and to the office space. What happens in there, obviously, though, is you need electricians to come in, pull out the old fixtures. You need to recycle the fluorescent tubes, and then they put in totally new fixtures. So there is some electrical work. That's why the ROI is a little bit longer. But you do have a totally different look inside the facility or office space.
Absolutely. And these are the types of things that you see every day, right? You wind up doing these types of contracts every day.
And if you don't have a budget and you want to change lights, we do have relationships with these ESCOs. So we could arrange to do the ESPC through one of our partners.
Fantastic. So let's talk about some of the issues with replacing LEDs. Now, I shared this story earlier that when I first looked at LEDs, this was probably 10, 12 years ago, the quality of the LED, number one, was not that great. And secondarily, the lighting of it was spooky scary when I put it in above my refrigerator and had my wife stand underneath of the lights. So it's not the same way today. So let's talk about what these are, what you see as the issues out there. Is it cost and budget? You mentioned one, Ed, where you can talk about how to get around some of those budget issues, but we still have these problems in the federal space for sure, being budget conscious. Second is the quality of the technology. You may not be sure exactly how the quality is. The color difference, as I mentioned, with my wife standing underneath of it, and BAA or TAA compliance. Or is it something else? Let us know what it is that you feel are the issues that are getting you with your agency. So let us know what you got, and we'll make sure that we tailor our message toward what you're looking for. There you go. So 100% of them, 100% of the folks are saying they have issues being able to justify it for the cost and the budget. So we will make sure that we identify those and work towards that. So let's talk about the costs associated with that, since that's one of the most important things for folks. What is that for us? How does that work? Because it is more expensive, right?
LEDs are definitely more expensive, but one thing that they don't take into account is the longevity of the LED. They don't degrade over time. The light quality is much better. Everyone actually did a study, the government did a study, and people I think it's about 15% more efficient at work with LED lights, believe it or not. And then also you don't have any type of maintenance, ongoing maintenance, changing out bulbs, because the LEDs last, although they are probably 4 times more expensive than the fluorescent, they last at least 4 times as long. So, you're not going to have to pay your maintenance people to go and constantly changing out burnout bulbs.
True enough. And so as far as the quality, though, there's a lot of new technology, and that technology is changing. What are we looking at for the improvements of that technology? Adam, you mentioned this earlier about the technology and the changes of that. What are we seeing now?
Yes, the technology of LEDs is getting better and better. It's actually called efficacy, meaning lumens per watt. So basically what we can do now, 2 years ago, a regular 32-watt T8 fluorescent, the equivalent was about an 18 to 20-watt LED tube, if we're talking about tubes. Now we've got down to where it's a 12-watt LED tube that's equivalent to T8 32-watt fluorescent or 28-watt fluorescent. And as the time goes, the efficacy is going to continue to get better and better and better. So in a few years, it might even down to 8 watts or 7 watts or 6 watts to equal a 32-watt T8 fluorescent. So it's going to continue to get better. But if some people say, well, I want to wait for there, you're going to miss out the opportunity of saving for those next couple of years while it does it, even though you're cutting it from, let's say, a 32 watt or 28 watt fluorescent down to a 12 watt LED. It's going to pay for itself, in 2 years, 3 years, or maybe even possibly even sooner if it's more of a 24/7 facility. The ROI obviously just gets better the more the lights are burning.
And it's phenomenal what's happening in the marketplace with LEDs. It is fantastic. So the old LED technology, it's not the same as it was 10 years ago. It's not the same as it was 2 years ago, right? So while it does differ from fluorescent, it actually differs in a better way. Ed, you mentioned that earlier with the 15% study that says that they're 15% more effective at work just because of change in the lighting.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's another place where the color is not an issue anymore. And most important, a lot of folks here today, for this exact reason, the BAA compliance and being able to meet that. And that's one of the ways that you can do that is with Axis LED. So let's talk a little bit about what these fixtures are. Which one of these is the typical office fixtures? It's T8 or T12s? What are they?
The most common is T8 fluorescents, 4 foot, 2 foot U-bends. I'm sure if you guys are in the facilities area of your buildings or your agencies, you probably switched from T12 to T8 maybe a few years ago or maybe even longer. And then eventually people are switching to T5s. But in a few years, those are going to be obsolete. The T8 factories overseas that are making, 40, 50, 60 million T8 fluorescents every month are actually winding down and closing down their shops because LED is taking over the entire market.
Fantastic. And you can do this with a single fixture or tube if you want to, or you can do it as a room, a floor, a campus, or the building or the campus. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well in specific applications and being able to spec those in. So let's talk about some of the benefits. You mentioned this, and that's an incredible difference between 32, you said 32 watts down to 12. That's better than 50% right there, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And talk about the warranty, 50,000 hour warranty. That's a good long time for what you can expect these to last at least, right?
Yes. Yeah, we have studies and certifications that our LEDs are going to last longer than the 50,000 hours through testing reports, through UL and different testing reports.
And if we're talking about fixtures, it's 100,000 hours for the fixtures. So, and LEDs, Ed, how long do these normal LEDs last in a given day?
Depends on the product, but anywhere from, typically you're going to have on a fixture, it's a 10-year warranty. So you got to figure that fixture's going, that's a warranty period. So you got to figure that product's going to last 12 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tube's the same, depending on what type of tube. With the plug and plays, the problem with the plug and plays, you still have a ballast in there. So the ballast probably will go before our tube goes. So you would have to replace the ballast. Now we have what's called an external driver tube, where you put in a LED driver in place of the ballast, and they'll last 10 plus years. We can do a 10-year warranty on those without any problem. So you're looking at anywhere from 7 to 15 years.
Yeah, that's just in comparison to the 2 to 3 years. And one of the things that we didn't even mention is that fluorescents tend to degrade over time, even before they just go out, right? So how does that work in comparison to the new technology and LEDs that you see?
Normal metal halides, fluorescents, etc., degrade approximately 10% per year annually. Along with the ballast loses its power a little bit more. With LEDs, we're less than 1% annually. So so basically over, let's say, 10 years, you're going to be to equivalent of 1 year of a fluorescent of the degrading of light. As keep saying that as technology gets better, it's going to be less than 0.5%. But right now we're definitely lower than 1%, probably about 0.8% of degrading annually right now, which is very good.
And you mentioned earlier about lowering the maintenance cost of these as well. That's kind of a soft cost that kind of gets buried, even beyond the cost savings of actual energy savings, which is quantifiable. There's also a lower maintenance cost. Tell us what you see out there with that, because that can be that can be quite a bit for being able to save some money on just having to replace the bulbs.
Substantial. We're looking at retrofitting a building. We actually include the soft cost in the ROI analysis, and there's a very large government facility. They had 2 lampists, they call them, the guys that just literally go out and change fluorescent bulbs every day, bulbs and ballasts. That's all these guys do. And their annual salaries were, I think, combined $160,000 a year.
Wow.
You'd forego. I mean, we changed out the building to LEDs, and I mean they can be used doing something else in facilities.
That's
and pretty much we don't need them to change lights any longer.
And they're called lampists?
Lampists, yes.
Wow, that's a new term for me. So that's a wild one. I didn't even know that term. So I expect a lighting upgrade. When are you expecting a lighting upgrade? And then we'll get to some questions and answers. You need them immediately? Is it Q3 2017? Can you believe we're actually already there? Or is it Q4? And you can submit as many as you need to. But we will make sure that we get the information to you when you need it and when you need that lighting upgrade. So let us know what you have. Very good. Thank you very much. And we have folks that need it right away in Q3 2017. And then there's folks that are not sure. So we'll make sure we keep in touch with those people. All right. So let's get to some questions, because we do have some questions from folks. Just open that panel up on the right-hand side, and we'll make sure we get the information to you that you're asking for. And the first one is, will this presentation be made available? The answer is yes, we will make it available. You will get a copy of the PowerPoint, or a link to it anyway, and you can download the PowerPoint. And it'll also be uploaded, and you can watch it as many times as you want. As many times as you want to see Ed and Adam, you can watch them and turn them into your favorites if you want to. So I know that they'll love that. So Valerie asks a question. I have a requirement for multiple lights for multiple buildings, no storage and warehouse. Would like to get as needed. So first of all, do you do that? And whom shall I send my requirement to? Great question. So first of all, can you do that?
Yes, we can do that, and we can send all our requirements to the Gov support at ALG-USA. And we can get in contact with you and discuss the project and go from there.
We will absolutely do that. So we can certainly do that. And then Rachel says, do you have an authorized rep who is a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, or veteran-owned, VOSB?
Yes, we have multiple 8As, VSOBs, et cetera, hub zones that we can work with, that we currently work with, that we can refer over to you guys.
So it's not just veteran owned. You can do across the board, which is important, because a lot of times there's contractual obligations through existing IDIQs, BPAs, et cetera, for facilities that you can be part of. Let's see what else we have here. What is the lead time for being able to get an order fulfilled?
Ed, got it.
Well, typically, if we have it in stock, you're looking at it, depending on where you are in the United States, anywhere from a week and a half to 3 weeks, depending on travel time logistically to get there for a truck. But if it's a large order, we have to bring in stock and build the product. You're looking at anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, which is pretty much the average lead time. Actually, it's a shorter lead time than most out there, but we can bring it in and have it built and delivered to you anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Super.
Are you only indoor lighting?
No, we have basically what we service is we do commercial and industrial lighting. We have indoor and outdoor lighting. So we get anywhere from LED tubes to fixtures to high bays for the indoors. And we also have area lights, street lights, wall packs, floodlights, just about anything outside we also have available under our BAA through Unicor that are building and assembling our products.
Super. And can you send pricing? The answer is absolutely. We'll make sure we send pricing along with the follow-up. How about that?
Yeah, perfect.
We'll be able to do that. And there is a question about an interagency agreement, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, where you're going to talk a little bit more about the relationship that you have with Unicor. So we will absolutely be reviewing that. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them, and we'll make sure we get those in there. So let's talk about how you go about it. If it's a smaller purchase, a single fixture, a room, or maybe a floor, not a crazy proposal response and things like that. Can be done on a credit card, and oftentimes, right? So how does that work? What's the process for doing a single fixture, a room, or floor?
That's very easy. Basically, what you need to do is contact one of our team members. Mention what you're looking for, what you're trying to replace. We have the knowledge and we'll know, a very good idea of what you're looking for. We'll send you our spec sheets, send you samples if need be to make sure that you are happy with the light, because we don't want you to buy a few $1,000s worth of product and then you put it in there, you don't like it. Then what you do is send us over a PO. You can pay with a credit card or a check, however you like to. We ship you the product, drop ship it straight to you, and that's it. It's very, very easy.
So that's the easy kind of pull out and replace with existing pieces. And then you have, for the process itself, we'll get to the next one, which is like a building campus type of environment. There's folks that want to do a whole entire building. That's a little bit different. And there's also a pilot program we'll talk about in just a minute, but you do a lighting audit as part of that to help develop the proposal so that you can do that analysis. How does that work? Do you just do it? How do you do that?
We work with, we have installation crews. We also work with ESCOs. We work with third parties. What would happen is we would schedule a time. We would have one of our auditors come out to the property, literally walk the buildings or buildings, and do a light count. What's in place? How many fixtures? What's the wattage? How many hours a day does that run? We get into some of the things about what your energy costs are, and then what we do is we come back. We do a proposal based on all of the figures, how much the wattage will be reduced, how many hours that wattage will be reduced based on your energy rate. We have a ROI analysis or payback analysis presented to you. It'd be a full presentation. You say, okay, run with it. We would ask that you send us a PO. And with the PO, we would generate an invoice, send it back to you. You guys sign off on that. And we would then ship the product to the location. If you guys are installing it, we would just send the product to your location, invoice you. You guys would then, pay us the invoice when the terms are due. And if we're installing it, we would set up our installers, ship the product to them. They come in. They typically install it in the evenings or weekends so that you're not interrupting daily life at the facility. They would do the installation after the installation is completed. That's pretty much it. You get paid on the job, and you have new lights.
They have new lights, and then it goes all the way through the warranty support side of things as well.
Right. So if there's any issues with any products that are installed, typically LEDs, they either burn out on takeoff or they don't burn out. So if you have any lights, that's true. So if any lights burn out, we would come in and we would replace those lights, and then you guys are you're good.
And so that also we'll talk about a pilot that you can incorporate into that as well. And we'll talk about a proof of concept so that it's very little risk that you can do to be able to test this in your environment. So one of the reasons why there is a push, or you should push, for LEDs and the BAA to meet the BAA requirements is because it does meet the new upcoming federal mandates. Everything that's done, and you mentioned your relationship with Unicor, which is great, by the way, because there's purchasing mechanisms that apply to that as well. But you also have the ability to meet the initiatives, the cost savings, which is also coming down the pipe. If it hasn't landed on your agency yet, it will be. And it meets the principles for sustainable federal buildings that's been in place for many years, and the Green Challenge, so that you can reduce your electricity, and it says by 5% per year or more. And just this alone is a 50% reduction in wattage, as Adam was mentioning, and it represents up to 30% of the building operation cost right now. So you're talking about cutting that down as well overall. So you can meet all of those initiatives simply by changing to LED lights. And your Buy American component. So let's talk about your proof of concept or your pilot. Instead of doing the entire thing, and you mentioned this, Ed, I think it's really important, and that is you have the ability to test it out before you even try it. It's like test driving to make sure that it works in your environment, right?
That's correct. We've done that a lot in a lot of big jobs. Change out a room, change out a floor like we had talked about earlier. They get comfortable. People analyze how the light is. Maybe they want to change the temperature. Maybe they want to change the wattage. It's a little too bright for them, what have you. And then we do the building or campus or whatever rollout. So.
And how many times have you done that pilot and then say, I don't like it?
I mean, it always gets.
Yeah.
I think 100%.
Yeah, that's what sorry about that. And that's really the key, right? Is that you make the changes and everybody loves it, and then you start talking. So the quality's great. You verify the ROI, and you say, okay, here's how much it costs when we were running with these lights, and you can see the difference immediately. So you can start with a small application and use a simplified acquisition or even a micro purchase. It can be below that $3,000, $3,500 threshold. And you handle the installation coordination, right?
Yeah, we can, for sure. Depends on what the customer wants.
And
in military, typically they install. Non-military, we install.
And so the socioeconomic teaming, you mentioned that as well, 8A, service disabled, hub zone, whatever you guys need, or it can be incorporated under an existing IDIQ or BPA. If you have a specific vendor that you have to purchase from, we will coordinate with them as well. It's a process to be able to help you get to where you need to go with your BAA compliance as well as meeting these goals for cost savings. So staying out of hot water, make sure that you are BAA and TAA compliant when you're doing these purchases. There's a lot of product that does not meet BAA or TAA compliance, and you want to make sure that you are. It's not just peeling the sticker off and putting it a different country of origin. We know how that can create problems, and it is not only that, it's illegal. So verifying the warranties, making sure that you have very good warranties built into these contracts, and then verifying the ROI claims. If they say they're going to be able to do it, they have to be able to deliver. And Ed, are you really sure that you have the ability to do those ROI claims to be able to give those savings to them? How do you do that?
I mean, the ESCOs are the ones that actually do the guaranteed savings contracts. And it's part of the contracts. They have to guarantee the savings. So they are very familiar with how, I mean, obviously LEDs is a big part of what they do.
Yep.
And so they have a full analysis. These are certified energy managers that are putting together these proposals and these contracts. It's a lot of attorneys involved, and they guarantee all the savings. And if the savings aren't there, they actually will eat the difference. So it's risk-free for the government.
And that goes to choosing those quality vendors that can offer those things. And build the spec. What do you mean by build the spec options? What are those?
I mean, we're one of the very, very few, I think probably the only BAA company that will build to an architect spec. So they specify a particular efficacy or kind of a unique color or whatever it may be. It's an odd length or something's peculiar about the actual spec item. If it's a large enough order, we will build to that spec. So we will, whatever the architect is speccing, we can build to.
Yep. And the other ways to stay out of hot water is to verify that lead time first. And Ed, you mentioned it, that the turnaround is quite fast, and verifying that past performance. And as a contracting piece, establishing and using BPAs. You can use GSA numbers. You can use other contract numbers, gives you fast access to your vendors so that when you want to do that procurement, it doesn't take you a lot of paperwork. And speaking of those procurement options, you're already a small business. So if they buy directly from you, you're small business. But you mentioned a relationship with Unicor. Tell us how that works with the interagency agreement. That's pretty powerful stuff.
The interagency agreement is a very unique product that is offered by Unicor. Normally, when a large project comes out for the government, you put it on FedBizOps. And you do an RFQ or RFP, whatever you guys want to call it. And then it has to go through the bidding process. I'm sure for you guys, it's a lot of paperwork, so on and so forth. With Unicore, you can actually do an interagency agreement, and you can buy it directly from Unicore without having to do an RFQ, which is a very unique product. The only thing that Unicore asks is it's a 15% bump from what, like say we're selling you a tube for $10, they're going to charge you $11.50, which really isn't that bad. But then, you know, Unicore guarantees the products and the workmanship for you guys, and it's a very easy process where you don't have a lot of paperwork, because personally I don't like doing a lot of paperwork, and I've seen those bids that you guys do, and it's a lot of mumbo jumbo there. So it's a very, very easy, great way for you guys to purchase something easily and fast for you guys.
Yep, and everybody loves paperwork, man.
Yeah.
And it is incredible, some of the things. So if you need help with some of that paperwork and being able to do streamlined purchasing, we can help with that. HubZone, 8A, WOSB, Service Disabled, and Vet Owned. Whatever it is that you need is a requirement to help you meet your goals, the other goals for your socioeconomic goals, those can be met too. So it's a win-win-win all the way around for being able to utilize and upgrade using BAA compliant products. So it's good stuff. All right. So what is it that you need? This is the last one, I promise. Last one. What do you need help with? A specific project, looking at whether this will work for your organization, and maybe a pilot program. You may want to check out the pricings and the specs to be able to include the specifications into a particular requirement. A lighting audit potentially, or do you need something else? Let us know, and we'll make sure that we contact you with what you need. So we'll close that 100% want and need pricing. So we'll make sure we get that information to everyone. And with that, for the follow-up, you will get a copy of the presentation, as I mentioned earlier. The Q&A will include anything that you ask us throughout the presentation, and anything that gets submitted will include that as well. Supporting documents to the initiatives and the rest of the information that you would need to be able to take a look at the Buy American Act as a whole. You'll have access to all those links. And Access LED capabilities, we'll make sure we get those to you, as well as the procurement options and any additional documentation that you ask for. So that'll all be included for everyone. For if one person asks for it, we make sure we get it to everybody. And with that, we want to say thank you for joining us. And the tan man with the tie now, Adam, is out there. So any parting comments or words for the folks that are looking at these products?
I just appreciate all you guys' time today, and if you need anything at all, please feel free to contact us, and we will help you the best way we can.
Awesome. Ed, any parting comments from you?
I got nothing. Thanks for coming.
Awesome. But again, thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing this information. It's great for the folks in the federal space, and letting them know that they have options and that they didn't know that they had. It's a great tool, and it helps them meet the obligations that they have in the Buy American Act, as well as the efficiency and the green components as well. So with that, we're going to let you go. I'm Dave Lowe with GovBrief, and we thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.